Hi, and welcome to the Warrior Moms podcast. I'm your host, Trina Rothman, and joining us tonight, oh, my hair just fell on my face. And joining us tonight through the magic of the internets is my friend and fellow warrior mom, Tawny McAnally. And Tawny is the founder of the Rare Epilepsy Education Foundation, or REEF for short. She is also the mother of Morgan, who is an epilepsy warrior, and she manages the Facebook page Life with Morgan, which chronicles Morgan's journey, both just what Morgan's doing, her life with epilepsy and how everything is coping and all that stuff. So that's all covered on the Facebook page, Life with Morgan. Tawny, thank you for being on the show tonight. But before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that we cannot affect change if we don't have your support. So please like, share, comment, and participate in our show, because we are also a live interactive show. So please ask your questions, make your comments. If you're watching directly from any of the platforms that I stream to, we will be able to see your comments. But if you're watching from Tawny's page or anyone else's page, we won't see the comments there. But we will do our best to follow up with you if we can. So all of that being said, Tawny, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm the mother of two children. I have a son who is 14 along with Morgan. I'm a paramedic. I am a midwife student, and I am the founder of the Rare Epilepsy Education Foundation. So I'm quite busy these days.
That is awesome. I actually didn't know that you were part of you were going to be a midwife. That's really cool. I think that's super neat. One of my friends is studying to be what is that? It's not a midwife, but it's the other one, doula.
Doula. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's super cool. All right. Well, you learn something new about people every single day.
You do.
So now that we know that you're a paramedic and you're studying to be a midwife, well, obviously, I guess studying rare epilepsy is one of those things that probably piques your interest. I mean, other than your daughter having rare epilepsy herself, but so the science of it probably is what draws you in. So tell us about how your warrior mom story has unfolded.
So Morgan actually was a very late bloomer to Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. She did not develop epilepsy. She had her first seizure when she was 13, which is super, super late. And she was controlled for about 2 years by medication until she just spiraled out of control to the point we had to co-sleep with her at night. She was having 5, 6, 8, 10 grand mal seizures a night, and her cognitive function severely declined. So at that point in time, it was time to bring in the big guns, and we had to find an epileptologist. And thanks to the McGovern Medical School, we've done a fantastic job of managing her to this point between her neurosurgeon, her epileptologist, and her neurology team.
That's the same neurology team that we use as well. Mm-hmm. So for those who don't know what Lennox-Gastaut is, could you expand on what that is?
Yes. So Lennox-Gastaut is one of the rare epilepsy syndromes. It only affects about 5% of childhood epilepsies. It generally peaks by 6. Generally, you know that they have epilepsy by about 6 years old. Okay. There is late onset, however, that can go even into early adulthood that they have recently discovered.
Wow.
Lennox-Gastaut is one of the rare epilepsy syndromes that is refractory to all treatments and medications. So more like Morgan, for instance, and many people like her are on 5 different medications 3 times a day. She's had a frontal lobectomy. She has a VNS in place. She's on the modified Atkins diet. And after COVID, we're looking at IVIG. That is the last treatment for Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, as there is no other approved treatment for these children.
Okay, and what is IVIG?
So that is IV immunoglobulin therapy.
Okay.
And what that does is hopefully it would take away the inflammation in the brain, the myopathy part of the Lennox-Gastaut. It has recently been approved over the last couple of years only for pediatric Lennox-Gastaut patients. So it's kind of in its trial form, And McGovern Medical School, along with the team of neurologists, has a wonderful doctor that they're using, and they've actually had great success.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so McGovern Medical School is run by the University of Texas, which is here in the Texas Medical Center. It is a great medical school. I actually have friends that work there in the administration as well as some of the doctors, and that's how we were recommended to the clinic as well. So this is a fantastic resource for families with epilepsy to have access, because not a lot of people who have epilepsy, not a lot of major metropolitan areas have epileptologists. So we've talked about epileptologists on the show, which, they're just neurologists who went to school even longer, and they actually are certain, like they went ahead and got specialization in epilepsy. So what was life like prior to you using an epileptologist? Like, I mean, did you see a big change when you went from neurologist to epileptologist? Because I know that we did.
So we did and we didn't. Okay. Unfortunately, Lennox-Gastaut is a syndrome of mental decline. There is no improvement from declining. So what we did see was, through surgery, we did stop the nighttime grand mal seizures. Okay. Which was awesome. So that has greatly improved our lives as parents. Dr. Von Allman, who we use, she recommends various treatments. And they have definitely slowed her progression, but unfortunately it is still a progressive disease. What I do like about having an epileptologist on is that they are on 24/7. So I can email them at any point in time, and some member of the team is going to email me back. If I have a question, a concern, a medication that I cannot get refilled, something strange has happened, changed, whatever, they will automatically get back to me. And having such a huge team has been helpful. At times, Morgan, with her Lennox-Gastaut, she also has status seizures. So about every 3 months or so, we're inpatients in the pediatric epilepsy monitoring unit. So we're lucky enough to be close enough to the medical center that when we contact them, we let them know what's going on, and they say, bring her right in, and they've got a room waiting and ready for her.
Yes, we have been residents at that pediatric EIVU ourselves, and you start to know everybody. And I was actually going through a drawer in my bedroom the other day, and when the last day that we were at that we had all of the nurses assign a blood pressure cuff. So I actually came across that this weekend, and so I was just like, oh, like, horrible times, but good times as well, because it leads to answers and it gets you help. But you're right, that team is so great, because that's exactly what happened with us. Is we needed, of course, it never happens during the work week. It only ever happens on the weekend, right?
Friday night.
Friday night. That's exactly what it does it. So, that team, I'm telling you, like, for us, they've been amazing. So I'm going to go back to my questions, because when you're talking, I am writing notes. So status seizures, for those who are watching that don't know what status seizures are, could you explain that, please?
Yes. Status seizures can be any type of seizure. So there are over 40 different types of seizures. The most common is grand mals. There's partial seizures, complex partial seizures, absent seizures, grand mal seizures, and so on and so forth. A status seizure is when a person has a seizure, never regains full consciousness, and has another seizure. For us, for Morgan's LGS, we have many rescue meds that we give first prior to what we consider an emergency in our household. So we can go with our status seizure so long as breathing is okay for up to 2 hours. Now, the recommended at home for, somebody who does not have an epileptologist, all these medications and everything else, is 5 minutes.
Right. Oh my gosh. 2 hours. Oh my gosh. Your mama heart must be broken. Oh my God. Because I'm sure.
It's terrible.
Oh my gosh. That's terrible.
But so, That's our mark. About 2 hours is when we go ahead and let the team know, look, we cannot break them. We can't stop them. And that's when they say, if you can go ahead and get her here, just bring her all the way in.
Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh. I know for my daughter, when she's seizing, she immediately, like within the first 30 seconds, she's oxygen deprived. So we have to get it to her at the start of the seizure, or we're crossing our fingers that she breathes again.
Yes.
So, I know every person, every seizure is different for every child. And, it's just, after talking to all these different moms, all these different weeks, it still does not, like, I don't think it's never going to not shock me. You know what I mean? It's just, it's always, because like if you start to think about how you feel it when your child is seizing, and then you just like, oh my God, 2 hours of that's, whew, I'm like, my heart's beating fast. Like, oh God.
It's rough. And then the worst part of it is videoing them. Because usually, so seizures, and I don't know if it's been discussed on your show or not. So neurons kind of fit together like this. And when you have a seizure, each time they go a little bit more off. And so for the saddest seizures, they really start getting off. And so for Morgan, she's like somewhere over here. So her seizures can bounce from a grand mal seizure to a partial seizure to not a grand mal. It's more of just a tonic seizure. Back into a grand mal, back into a partial, and all over the board. And then each time something changes, every time these pathways get bigger, they make bigger pathways in the brain. And they create new pathways for seizures. So each time we have a different presentation, she currently has 16 presentations of seizures.
Oh my word.
And every time there's a new one, we have to video it. And so I think that's probably the worst part.
Yes.
However, it is the absolute most essential piece that you can give to your doctors is a video, because a kid is never seizing when they're in the office. They just won't do it.
Right.
So, but there's so much that they can see. Like initially, she always stared off to the right. So Dr. Von Allman, who we use, was able to take her MRIs, her PET scans, her CTs and everything, put everything together along with an EEG. She knew she looked off to the right, so she knew where to look. Because the brain is so large and so complex. Had we not have had that information, it would have taken her months to find the right medications.
Yes, absolutely. And so to just so, because like I know what you're talking about, but we got to make sure that everyone who's watching us knows what you're talking about, because you are definitely full of knowledge, and anyone can learn from you. And I love what you're doing with REEF. But so when we're talking about seizures, so most seizures that everyone in the world is familiar with are the tonic-clonics, which are the grand mals. And that's when you're laying on the ground and, or you're, what everyone thinks of is laying on the ground shaking. That's like shaking from head to toe. That's the most common seizure. But there are other seizures like myoclonic jerks, where your arm, like a part of your body just jerks, and it's specific to that muscle group. Like if it was your arm, it's your arm. And so for like my daughter, her seizures go from focal onset. So she has a focal onset in her eyes with a rapid generalization. So she goes from a very quick focal onset seizure to a full generalization. When we say something is generalized, we mean that they're having a tonic-clonic seizure. So it's all parts of the brain are involved. So a focal seizure starts at just a small part of the brain or a section of the brain, and then it spreads. And that's what we're calling when we say generalization. So again, and every child is different. Some child, like Tawny just said, that her daughter presents 16 different types of seizures. And my daughter presents 2, focal and generalized. Focal and tonic-clonic. So those are some of the different things. And that's what I try to do with warrior moms and with Unsocially Acceptable, is try to explain to families, or try to raise awareness for families, that it's not just tonic-clonic, but also if it is tonic-clonic, this is what you do when it happens. So, but what you're doing with REEF, the Rare Epilepsy Education Foundation. So can you tell us about that?
Yes. So we started the foundation because when Morgan was diagnosed with LGS, we really didn't know what was going on. So when you get a diagnosis of epilepsy, be it absent, infantile spasms, just generalized epilepsy, that's all you get. Really, they give you no more information, and any other information, you literally have to dig and gather and go through. And then these rare types is even harder. They'll give you a name and kind of a generalized rundown of what to do in emergency. However, beyond that, it's up to you to research. And when I started this, I realized there's a ton of research out there, but none of it is centralized, and most of it is not broken down in plain English.
Right.
So luckily I'm a paramedic, and then like I said, I'm a midwife student. So I read a lot of medical textbooks. The average mom, dad, caretaker, grandma, whoever, they don't.
Right.
And so we try to bring it into, like on our Facebook page, more of just a broken down, general, look for this. This is what this is. Just one place for people to get information. And we do it as more of a one-on-one because we are a small foundation, being the Rare Epilepsy Education Foundation. We connect with our parents generally by Facebook Messenger, actually. And our mission is to get them the information that they are looking for, get them help where they're not doing hours and hours and hours of research, give them someone to talk to, not a medical person, but another mom, another caretaker, and just someone. And then also in our mission is, we couldn't do it this year during COVID. A couple of things is education of the community, your local EMS, fire, and police, because of these different rare presentations. They don't always know it's a seizure.
Right.
And then the other thing that we do offer, which we can't do right now during COVID, is if you are in our local area, 100 miles away or so, and you have nobody to come sit with you in the EMU or in the, operating room, waiting area, we'll come sit with you. If you need me in the middle of the night, I give everybody my phone number and my business card. Call me, because I've been there. I've been in the epilepsy monitoring unit for so many nights on end. I know that, once they start seizing in there, especially if they've taken them off their meds, it's hard. And so we strive to kind of be that voice and be that shoulder to lean on when you just have nowhere else to turn.
Absolutely. And I think that's wonderful. And again, we try to do that here with Warrior Moms as well. We're behind the curve as far as you go, because you've been doing this a lot longer than we have. But this is something that is so hard, thinking about it now, it's just like when I had to sit there with my daughter and watch her seize, my husband was at work. And I actually had somebody with me who is her very young babysitter, who is just going off to college this year. But her name is Emma, having Emma there was everything. Mm-hmm. Because without Emma, I think I would have just collapsed on the floor. I hugged that sweet girl and cried my eyes out, because it's so hard to watch your child do that. And because you're trained to do things. Like you have, oh crap, she's having a seizure. I need to start recording this. I need to make sure she's breathing. But you can't do anything when they're in the epilepsy monitoring unit, but you're with medical professionals. But mm-hmm. Your instinct is to be with your child. And so to have somebody there is everything. It is so good. And I love what you're doing. I know that you guys also chronicle Morgan's journey on your Facebook page, Life with Morgan. And that, do you want to talk about that? What you've got going on with that?
Absolutely, we can. Yeah. We started it actually as, well, let me back it up just slightly. So when Morgan was about to have her frontal lobectomy, which is an epilepsy seizure to take out her major seizure focal point. And so it's right here, and they did a standard craniotomy on her. She was a little bummed, as any 16-year-old is going to be. So I thought, what can we do? And what we did was we did a t-shirt fundraiser. We didn't really actually do it for the fundraiser. We didn't make much money. We didn't charge more than the t-shirts cost. But Morgan had over 300 people buy t-shirts that say "Strike Out Epilepsy" on the front, and on the back they say "Team Minimo." And so the day of her surgery, everybody wore their shirts, and they sent them from all over. And we got one of those little printers that prints on Wi-Fi with the little stickers, and we stuck them up all over her hospital room.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so that's kind of where life with Morgan started. And so then after her surgery, we kind of chronicled her progress going through the various therapies because she had to relearn so many things over. And then her various trials and wins, you know, against Lennox-Gastaut in all these seizures. And we want other people to know that they're not alone, but to see that these kids, although they do have some different things about them, they are still amazing and can do amazing things.
Yes.
Like with Morgan, she can sign when she's having a seizure or when she can't speak yet, because she does have one seizure type that hits Broca's area, which is where you speak from. So we taught her sign language. That when she's in the EMU and they're checking her mental status, which they have to do after a seizure, she's now able to sign her name, that she's okay, and different things like that. So we show that just to show other parents and people, you know, there's so much you can do, and it's just all in how you look at it.
You know, I never thought about the sign language because, you know, I actually, I've twice in one day, I'm going to talk about this. I actually took sign language when I was in high school. And so I'm quite rusty at it, but I still know a few things. I definitely know how to sign my name. I never thought to teach Scarlett because she also loses language after her seizure happens. And that's a great idea.
So, and it's really funny. And when I did this is because we were doing all the pre-surgery, you know, what can go wrong? You have to cover everything with your surgeon. And one of the things was losing the ability to speak was one of the risks. And I asked Dr. Shaw, I said, can we teach her sign language? And he said, no, language is language. And which is very uncharacteristic for Dr. Shaw. So I was like, wow. So I did a little more reading on it. And I found that, you know, the right brain and the left brain control very different things. Although language is on one side, when you show it by picture, it can be retained on the right side.
Yes. So
that was how we did it. We used an app, and we did one that only did picture, no voice.
That's very interesting. You know, I actually did know that picture was the right side of the brain. I think the only reason why I know this is because my daughter has left temporal lobe epilepsy. And so losing language is a real thing. And so that you're going to have to give me the app because that's amazing. I see. This is why we do the show. So that way all these different ideas, all these different thought processes that we all have, we can have in one area for other moms. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to, you know, like, yes, this is a book that this is like my epilepsy Bible, but I've read it and I can tell you I can give you the Cliff Notes version, or I can point you to it in the book, or, you know, there's so many different things that we can do when we work together. And when you build up that support, that I know that I can call, like, this is really something. So when Scarlett was having seizures, when this all first started, I would call my friends and be like, oh my God, I'm so upset. She just had a seizure. Da, 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 da. And they would be like, oh, she's fine. She'll be okay. She'll bounce back. And you're strong. She's strong. It's all good, because they don't freaking know. They don't know what I just went through. Like, I'm trying to tell you that my life just like flashed before my eyes when my child turned blue. Like, but they'll never get it because they never went through it. And I'm, again, trying to express this. Like, I'm using all the words that I can, but I know that I could call you and say something, and it would be a very different conversation because you've been there. And it would be, and that's the support that these moms, these warrior moms, these warrior dads need, because we end up with PTSD. Like you said that you record the videos, and something that I want to add, I record videos too when my child seizes. And again, you don't record just the head, you record the entire body. You have to do the entire body. And zoom in on things. We'll talk about that in a minute. But store the videos in a file outside of your gallery. You will do yourself a favor, because I can't tell you how many times I've been like, oh, where's this old selfie? I want to look. And then and my phone auto plays videos. I don't know how to get it to stop. If somebody knows, please just tell me, send me a message about audio playing. So my phone auto plays videos, and I can't tell you, I can ruin my whole day because I've scrolled up.
And one thing I would like to add to that. So we do the same thing. We have a file called seizures in my phone. And a lot of people don't know, a lot of parents, caretakers, and so on, when you're at the hospital, you assume, especially outside of the EMU, you assume nurses know all this stuff about epilepsy. Nurses know such a broad range of things that they don't know everything about epilepsy. People like Morgan, who have so many presentations of seizures, what I do when we're there is we educate the nurses. As soon as we get in there, we show the videos. Okay, she can do this, 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 and this. And actually, we've now seen some of the nurses in the IMU that pick you more than once. And so they can recognize them on their own now. They have learned something just by us advocating for our child that can help someone else.
Yes, absolutely. We did that too when we got to, and for our stay in December, we made sure everybody saw all the videos. As soon as a new resident came in, a new doctor came in, you had to watch the videos, you had to discuss it, because I wasn't going to hear, because I had heard it at other hospitals, I wasn't going to hear, oh, it's just whatever. Like, no, watch the video. It is very telling. And it's the hardest but most useful piece of information you can provide your doctor. And without that video, I don't think we would have caught Von Allman's attention the way that we did.
And you may never have. And like I said, they just, unfortunately, they don't seize on the spot. They don't seize on command. We actually were in the hospital for an infection from the VNS. We took a walk around because it was suggested to go walk around, and she had a seizure in the bathroom. So get out the camera, we're recording the seizure, you know?
So, real quick, the EMUs, they're called epilepsy monitoring units. We have one here in Houston. It's a level 3. We have one at Texas Children's, and we have one here at Memorial Hermann. So we have them in Houston, and they're fantastic, but they are specifically designed for people who have seizures and epilepsy. And so once you're in that room, you're basically chained to the wall, because the EEG is attached to your head, which is attached to the wall, which is attached to a computer and all kinds of different monitoring things. There's also a camera. And so when that camera is watching your child 24/7. The only time that they don't catch your kid is when you're in the restroom, and then they usually hit a button on a wall. They're like, hey, where'd she go? Like, obviously she's in the restroom. Where else would she have gone? But still, they they watch everything that your child does, because they may catch something you don't know.
Yes. And you can't leave them alone in the epilepsy monitoring unit, which is definitely where your village comes in handy. You know, the more that you visit, you have to go to work. You have to take a minute. You have to, as hard as it is, you just have to step outside.
Yeah.
And definitely growing your village. We have an amazing village where we all co-parent wonderfully, and we take turns, so that nobody loses their mind just completely.
Yes. And that's something else that I don't think we've really discussed this as far as warrior moms goes. Epilepsy isn't just the child. It's the mom, it's the dad, it's the teacher, it's the uncle. I want to shout out to my brother, dude, because my brother quit his job to help with my daughter. That is an amazing thing to do for somebody, because my daughter we could not get a stable babysitter. And so my brother helps. He is home helping. He's homeschooling her. He and my mom both are homeschooling her while I work. And so, it really does take a village. And if you think that you're going to do epilepsy on your own, one, you don't have to. And two, you shouldn't, because you don't have to. And so it's definitely, you need a support system, because it's hard. I mean, Tawny just said that her daughter can be having a seizure for 2 hours and still not considered an emergency. But you don't, like, I tell you right now, without even asking Tawny, her heart hurts at the end of that. Her heart hurts every minute.
It's awful.
So when you have a child with epilepsy, know that you have a community. You have a community with REEF. You have a community with Warrior Moms, and you can have other communities too. But use them all, because that's what they're here for. Use your family, use your friends. And there's people that, yes, are going to walk out the door. There are people that are going to be like, oh, this is too much drama, too much whatever for me. That's fine. Let those people go, because there's going to be other people who show up. Like, out of nowhere, this woman named Tracy just showed up, and she just wants to be my friend. She's like, I'm going to love you through it. And that's amazing. That's what, God will bring you through it, but you have to acknowledge it.
Yep, absolutely. Let people in. Let everybody you can in, because you're going to need it. Just like you said, I mean, your heart will hurt. Like when Morgan starts, I automatically call my sister, my friend, Christy. She's the first person I call. Hey, can you come help me just in case? And always yes. The answer is yes. And so Morgan's dad and then her stepdad, we all work together. And you absolutely have to. And it works amazingly when you do that.
It does. And it's, in addition to that, it gives you a peace of mind. It can help you sleep. I mean, because again, we talk about this on the show, you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to have that support. You have to be able to decompress. You have to be able to recharge yourself, because if you're not 100% and your child needs you, what's going to happen? Use your village. And that's something that, we're trying to create with Warrior Moms. You've created it with REEF. So let me ask you, so I know that REEF, man, I messed up my hair. So REEF, REEF does different types of rare epilepsy. So you mentioned a couple, infantile spasms. So that's an interesting epilepsy in and of itself too. What do you know about it? IS?
So infantile spasms is a true emergency. And it looks like just a sudden jerk that a baby would do. The thing to look for with that would be if they did it more than once, especially kind of in a rhythmic pattern. Take a video of it, call 911 if you don't know. And the reason I say this is because the earlier you can treat those spasms, the less damage it has on that infant as they develop. So if you don't know what infantile spasms are, absolutely look them up, because it can truly change a person's life. They need that medication right now. They don't need it in 2 hours like Morgan. They need it immediately, because it is actually causing brain damage.
My word. So we had a guest a couple weeks ago. Her name is Gina Finch, and her daughter actually had infantile spasms. So if this is something that you like, to the audience, to people who are watching, if infantile spasms is something that you are questioning or you need to know more about, we have somebody in the community. And I'm sure if you reached out to me, we can get you to talking to Gina. So that way, Gina's also a great resources for information. So infantile spasms, it doesn't even look, it almost looks like a startle, like a baby startle. Yeah. And it's crazy because I've seen it. And so it's one of those things that you have to take care of right away. And again, if I always say err on the side of of caution. Like, listen to your mom tuition, which is something that we have here. You know, we bring this up all the time. Mom tuition. If something doesn't look right, just get it checked out. Nobody's going to fault you for wanting to do what's right for your child.
Not at all.
So yes, infantile spasms. It looks like a baby startle. It almost like they're doing crunches. You know, like
they'll do their arms will come up and go down.
Yeah. So infantile spasms is something big. So another one is Dravet, or did I say that right? Dravet. So
Dravet syndrome.
What do you know about that?
So Dravet syndrome is it's very interesting. Dravet syndrome normally presents with a high fever, similar to a febrile seizure. So if your child's fever gets too high, they can have a seizure for absolutely no reason other than the body trying to fix itself. Dravet syndrome initial seizure comes with a high fever. It is one of the most catastrophic forms of epilepsy. A child develops completely normally to a certain point. The fever hits, they have this seizure, and they are completely intractable to any treatments, medications. They are at the highest risk for SUDEP. And they start regressing almost immediately after that first seizure.
My word.
Yes. So Dravet syndrome is truly just a tragic disease process. Horrible for caretakers, family, etc. And definitely that would be one I would say absolutely reach out to your village. You are gonna need it.
Oh my word. So intractable epilepsy, for those, is epilepsy that cannot be treated with I guess known treatments like surgery or medication, diet, any of that. It's just epilepsy that exists and will continue to exist. What is the statistic that it's like 1 in 3?
So I have it in percentages. Dravet syndrome. So of all childhood epilepsies, it affects about 0.17%.
Okay. And then with intractable epilepsy, do you know the statistic on that?
Intractable epilepsy is 30% of all epileptic patients, adult and children.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Okay. So that's 30% of people. So 1 in 3 people who will be diagnosed with epilepsy, and there's no known treatment for them. But I will say this, getting a DNA test, a genomic panel, can help you in the future. So even if you do a genomic panel today and something doesn't come up, or something does come up, but you don't have an answer, you don't have a diagnosis, just as you have some sort of genetic marker, 5 years from now, that's not to say 5 years from now, there won't be some sort of defining information. So getting your genomic panel and then continuing to update your genomic panel can eventually lead to answers. And it could also lead to, like for my daughter, she has a couple of unknown significance on a few different genes on her epilepsy panel. And there's no information, but that's not to say that 5 years from now, we won't have a collection of information that we can be able to define. I actually just about 2 weeks ago, maybe even 3 weeks ago, met a mother who has the same genetic deletions. Her child rather, has the same genetic deletions as my daughter. And we were comparing them, and it's textbook. Like, it's like, we're comparing apples to apples, like the same situations are happening. So science is still very much on the cutting edge, or not the cutting edge, very much on the developing edge of epilepsy. So having these diseases, yes, some of them are very catastrophic. Some of them are very, very sad and tragic to have as a diagnosis, but some of them we just don't have answers for. So I want to make sure that we say that. So that way people are like, they're not like, oh my God, I thought this was a fun show, a fun education show. And here she is, just, why don't put a cemetery in her front yard or something? So it's definitely, epilepsy needs awareness raised for so many different reasons, this being one of them. So one of the things that you and I talked about, because we're both very big on epilepsy awareness, we're both very big on seizure first aid, making sure that the world knows and is prepared for those who have epilepsy. Because again, 1 in 26, we think it's more like 1 in 13 will be diagnosed with epilepsy in this world. So I mean, we're not diagnosing people in other worlds. We're just doing this one. But what's some advice that you would give to other parents with children with epilepsy? Like what's best practices? Like we've already covered doing the videoing, journaling we've talked about. So what would you say?
I've actually brought some fun things to show you. And I will start with motion detection cameras.
Mm-hmm.
I put these up all over, but generally I use them at nighttime. And they will alert you if a motion goes off. And I use them in conjunction with an Apple Watch, with a seizure alarm on it. The Apple Watch works amazingly for certain types of seizures. Mm-hmm. They have to be shaking in some way or a heart rate change. Something has to happen to set it off. However, it's about a minute behind. So what I do is I use that. It calls me. For those of you that have never heard of it, Seize Alarm is a great app. It will call you and multiple people more than once. And I have it set up to text, call, and email. So it will wake me up no matter what. But I do know that it is a minute behind. So if you go in her room and she's not shaking, you're like, what just happened? So that's when I pull up the camera video. And you can see what happened because the camera kicks on almost immediately. So I like to use them together as little aids for each other, especially for nighttime seizures, although we do use the Apple Watch during the day as well, just to give Morgan a little bit of freedom. She, we don't have to check on her quite all the time. We do make sure when she is not just next to us, though, that it is on. That way, if something was to happen, we can obviously go help her. And it also gives a GPS location, which is amazing if they were to go out with friends, family, and so on, or wander. So with certain types of epilepsies, like you were saying, especially some of the ones that only affect one portion of the brain at a time, people can just blankly wander. Mm-hmm. And they don't know where they're going. And at least on these apps, you can check and you can see where they went. And so that's an amazing thing because we have had her walk out the door a couple of times.
Oh my gosh.
So, last summer we actually got a Ring doorbell because she walked out the door and sat in the truck. She thought we were going somewhere.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, it's just, I love motion detection. I love the Apple Watches. They're all amazing. And even if you're not with them, you can call 911 and give them the GPS location.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So those are all amazing things. And then another thing that I brought that I want to show you. So VNS is the vagus nerve stimulator is a tiny implant that goes in the chest up the vagus nerve. And the goal of it is to go off every so often to eventually teach the vagus nerve to tell the brain to stop having so many seizures. Morgan's has 3 functions. So it goes off every 30 seconds. It also goes off when it detects a seizure on its own. And the third thing that it has is a magnet. However, check the magnet out next to the Apple Watch. They look the same. Mm-hmm. So what I have found on Etsy, and they're on our Rare Epilepsy page, is to change the band. Put VNS on it. Put their name, something like that. And then the other thing, like we have extras. So this is my one that I keep on my fridge. And it's got just a keychain on it. It's great to stick in your pocket when you're going somewhere. And the keychain sticks out. They have a seizure. You can take it out and just swipe them. So just little hacks that help in everyday life. And then the other thing is we have a anti-suffocation pillow that I found out of the UK.
Yes, we're looking at those.
They don't sell them in the United States because they do not meet the US fire code.
Okay.
That is the reason they don't sell them here just yet. However, the way I see it is I'm going to probably notice a fire. I have a fire detector. Mm-hmm. However, the pillow itself is made of jersey material almost. So it's got holes. holes all the way through, and they get smaller and smaller as they go through, but both sides have holes, and you can stick your face flat down and you can still breathe through it. So to us, it was much more important to go ahead and get that than over the fire risk.
Oh, absolutely.
And every now and then you can actually order those on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Yes. We're actually looking at that and the mattress topper, because right now Scarlett co-sleeps with us. She sleeps fortunately our bedroom is big enough that she can sleep. We can move her bed into there. And then I have, like you, I use the video monitors. So then I have that on my nightstand. And so my husband, we kind of sleep in shifts. So I go to bed earlier than my husband, and then he stays up with the monitor. And when he goes to bed, he plugs the monitor on my bed. And then I kind of wake up and then I sleep lightly for the rest of the night. So Scarlett, we've been looking at that because SUDEP is a real thing and it scares the bejesus out of me. And it's something that we actually have not covered on this show because it's such a scary, scary thing to talk about. And it's almost like you don't want to put, like, I'm knocking on everything. I'm knocking on all the wood. You don't want to put the juju out there. So but these pillows are amazing. It's to help them breathe in case they do have a seizure, in which they've turned their body to where they're, if they had a regular pillow, they would be suffocating. Or if they were to throw up, because it happens, they throw up, or, this is what's going on. They should be able to still breathe, right, Tawny?
Yes, they should. And that is a theory. The United Kingdom actually does a lot of epilepsy research, being as their medical structure, the way that it's set up, epilepsy is very costly to them. So they have done a lot of research on these pillows and have lowered their SUDEP rate. That's substantially. And there are articles upon articles on the internet that you can check out and see how they are fighting SUDEP and how they are lowering their healthcare costs in general just by using some of these tools.
So there's a I cannot remember for the life of me. I cannot remember the monitoring system that comes out of the UK, but so many families are buying these monitoring systems out of the UK. They're about $1,000, but there's, I want to say, what?
Was it Sammy?
Yes, Sammy. Yes. So, and then I know that the Chelsea Foundation helps families get the Sammy monitors, but I use we do the same thing as you. We have the smart monitor. So we use a different, because we don't have Apple. We're Android people. So we have the Galaxy Watch, but we also use the smart monitor app, which is similar to the app that you just described. Same thing. You get the GPS, you get the text message. I don't think we get email though. We get a phone call, we get all that stuff. It records everything, all the sounds around her. It also gives us reports, like, tracks her heart rate, does all that stuff. So this is really great. And so these are good tools, and these companies are so helpful. I want to say that because people think, oh, it's just another way. It's just another gimmick to make money. No, like, actually, when COVID hit, my husband was laid off. I called Smart Monitor and I said, hey, our daughter's going to be home. My husband's home with her. We don't need this at the right now. And they were like, well, we'll just give it to you. Just call us back when you're ready to start paying, because we'd rather her have that watch than not. And so I hope, I don't want to ruin their business by saying that, but these companies are genuinely trying to help. Now, there are some charlatans out there. There are some hokey people that are going to try to capitalize on your real fear of SUDEP. But a lot of us moms, again, why we have a community, a lot of us have already filtered out the good from the bad. Now, we have Mandy Lee, who just commented. She is actually going to be on the show next week. But Mandy Lee says that she used the Embrace device back when it first launched. And then, my Tracy, who I just mentioned on the show just a few minutes ago, she has a question for you, Tawny. Do you know anything about FIRES syndrome?
Yes, actually. FIRES is a acronym. And I'm not sure if that's the one that she's looking for. So okay. I have my different files in different places, so give me just 1 second. So, okay. So FIRES, as it relates to epilepsy, is febrile infection related epilepsy syndrome. And it's an acronym for febrile infection-related epilepsy syndrome. I'm not sure 100% what type of information. Does she know what kind of information she's looking for on it?
Tracy, if you're still watching, I guess we need some clarification, but also because I talk to you all the time, if you aren't watching, we'll follow up with you so that way we can get you your answer.
We actually one of our posts is the educational series on fires.
She said her friend's daughter has it. Okay. So Tracy, just direct your friend here. I'm going to pull it up on the banner. Direct your friend to Tawny's Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Rare Epilepsy Education, and have her connect with Tawny and see what she might learn. Yeah.
And anybody can contact us through the foundation's Facebook page. And we have 5 board members, 3 of which are paramedics. One is an EMT intermediate and one is a teacher. Any one of us can answer. Usually it's me. However, if you have a specific question, especially something about fires, because it's a more complicated illness, reach out definitely. And if I don't know the answer, I can find it for you.
Good deal.
Even if I have to call, Dr. Von Allman or whoever her resident for this week is, trust me, they're used to it.
Yeah, no, I call them all the time too. Like I actually was like, I had a question about toothpaste last week. So, I mean, they seriously get all kinds of questions. She did say that she sent her the link. So hopefully REEF can help her out. So Tawny, we can talk forever because you know so much. And I mean, I can sit here and listen to you and just learn and learn and learn and learn. And I love what you're doing. And I keep saying that, but it's true. So one of the things that I want to talk about is what you do for yourself, because I think this is so important. Like, you talk about using your village, you talk about having all these different safeguards to give yourself peace of mind. I just knocked my mic over. But what do you do for your self-care?
So for my self-care, I craft. I love to craft. I don't always have the time for it, but I'm actually sitting in my craft room right now. And I have probably everything known to man to make something. And that is what I do for self-care. Sometimes I'll do it for epilepsy stuff. Sometimes I'll do it for house decorations, just different things like that. I would love to say that I exercise and do yoga, but honestly, I don't.
Oh my gosh. I do yoga. I do it hot yoga. It hurts.
And then my other thing is definitely, I know I mentioned my friend Christy before, but I talk to my friend Christy probably about every day, multiple times a day. And definitely that is one of my self-care ways of coping. We talk about everything from work to epilepsy to houses, just about nothing.
That's awesome.
So any sort of outlet that you can find, definitely, that you want to do or that you're interested in doing. Like I tried yoga for a day, I think. I have what my husband calls it. What does he call them? I don't do yoga pants.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny. My niece was wearing yoga pants today. She said, we did yoga for the first time. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, she's so bendy though. But yeah, no, I love your crafts. I follow your craft page on Facebook, and I saw that you had so I always find like things like epoxy and resin. I always find like watching people make that stuff is very satisfying. Like I don't want to make it, but I want to watch people make it. So, and I was actually talking about this with Mandy Lee today, how satisfying it is to watch people like make cookies, or how it is like satisfying to watch her like do chalk paint and stuff. Like, I don't know, for me, it's satisfying, but I love that you craft. I love all the stuff that you come up with. Like I went and like stalked your page the other day, and that Harry Potter Tumblr is calling my name like the ocean calls Moana. And so, it's just, it's so good to have something for yourself, Mandy Lee says you get sucked in watching those cookie videos for hours. It's true. It's just like, oh, let me watch this person flood a cookie, and then 3 hours has gone by. So yeah,
I was to sell her shirts the other day. Don't worry. I was like, can I buy into your business?
and she's actually doing she told me she's doing it's her 1 year anniversary, so she's doing a sale. So definitely hit her up.
Yes.
And then also send me, I don't remember I don't have the link. So send me the link for, these are things that people are going to ask us for. I know for sure. They're going to ask for your link for your crafts. They're going to ask, I've already got your link for Rare Epilepsy Education Foundation. They're going to ask about these apps and these the monitors. So all these different things, we will post them for you guys. So it's just, again, this is all for information. If you have questions about rare epilepsy, or if you think you might qualify, like you didn't know that your epilepsy was rare and you want to find out if it was rare, reach out to Tawny and the people at REEF, because they are a great resource. This is all born from love and from, just from like not wanting other people to experience what we've experienced. So go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and also we offer free community education, family education, police, fire, EMS that I mentioned. So if you are new to this, even if your epilepsy is not rare, if you describe to me what is going on, I will absolutely Zoom with you, whatever, and just kind of give you the parent rundown on what's going on. That's awesome. And we have 2 programs going on right now during COVID. Real quick, we do have a medication assistance program for families who have been affected by COVID. And then now we've added to that Hurricane Laura. So if you find yourself in a position where you cannot pay the copay on your child, your family member, adult, it doesn't matter if it's rare or not. If it's an epilepsy medication, ask me for the form. I will send it to you. We don't judge anybody on anything. We don't ask for income. We cover as many as we can. And then also people who have been diagnosed with during this time, or who need an epilepsy identification bracelet, we also have a program that we offer those. So definitely reach out, let me know what it is you need, and we will see what we can get to you.
That's awesome. So that's another great thing. And you also do the seatbelt ones, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. And those are on our page. Do what?
Tell us the importance of the seatbelt.
Okay, so I don't know if you've seen them. I don't have one with me right at this second, but if you go to our page, you can see it. We'll link it later. So the seatbelt covers are very important. And if you're in an accident, God forbid, or if you're pulled over, see, that's the other part of that, is that number one, if you're in an accident and mom, dad, brother, sister, whoever's driving is unconscious, they can read on the seatbelt cover that this person has epilepsy. Like Morgan's, she's got a VNS, so it says no MRI. When you flip it over, it's got information on it. It's got all of her medications, her allergies, her diagnosis, along with 2 contact numbers that are not going to be the driver of that vehicle. So the seatbelt covers are very, very important. The second reason, if you get pulled over, officers we know are very, very friendly. But the lights can be very scary and can trigger seizures. So a lot of times, if an officer, they check your entire vehicle. If they see that seizures on there, they are going to just instinctively lower their voice a little bit, and things like that. That's going to calm that person just incredibly far down, because they don't understand, they're on the side of the road, how loud they can be sometimes.
Yeah.
So we just want them to know if this person's acting strangely, it's okay.
Yes. Yeah. No, we have for the same reasons. Obviously, we have that for Scarlett. We also have stickers, which we have not put on our cars yet because our cars have been dirty and we're lazy. But so I have stickers that say it's like a medical, it's like the medical symbol, and then it says epilepsy. But then somebody gifted these to me, which they're not from you, but they all still serve the same purpose. So these were gifted to me, and I don't know if you guys can see it. It says, it says, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. So it's just raising epilepsy awareness. So like all these little different stickers that I was gifted, and but we do have that. It's important because also, like, as far, I think it's really important to know, like, how, like you said, approaching the person, or approaching an accident, because now they can be on guard. Because, like, what if you're in a car accident and the stress of the accident has now caused a seizure, you're unconscious, they know, like, hey, we've got, like, you go here. So it's so important to have that. My dad used to be a firefighter, and he was also for the city of Sugar Land, which is where I grew up. He was their traffic operations manager. So traffic safety is a huge thing with my family, and the more information, the better. Just so much more information helpful. Like you said, if you didn't have that, Morgan has a VNS. So if you put her in an MRI, that's not good. That's like somebody with a pacemaker and an MRI. So there's so many wonderful things that you guys are doing. Mandy Lee says that she needs one of those for her son. So Mandy Lee, you know how to reach out to her. So you go ahead and do that, and these are all great things, and send me all the links for everything, and we'll get them posted. So that's we're already at the hour mark. So we're already at the hour mark, but Tawny, we're gonna have you back on. Like, we're gonna have to have you back on, because we've got Epilepsy Awareness Month in November. I would love to have you on then. Actually, I've got something going on in my brain right now that I've got to formulate it, but I am going to reach out to you for something for Epilepsy Awareness Month. Also, real quick, for Epilepsy Awareness Month, I am raising funds. So my daughter and I are making bracelets. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but we're making like little epilepsy awareness bracelets. They're still fashionable. We're doing that because we're considering forming our own nonprofit ourselves. If not, then if we choose not to do that, we are going to donate all of the proceeds, all the profits rather. So that way we can, make sure that we have all our options and tables and chairs covered. I don't know. So Mandy Lee agrees that we need to have you on the show. So next week we have Mandy Lee, and she is going to tell us her story about her two warriors. And so it is going to be a very powerful episode. Following that episode, we will be discussing, this is outside of epilepsy awareness, we are going to take on sex trafficking. It is something that has been brought to my attention that the special needs community is not immune to sex trafficking. So we have a 2-part episode that will begin. Let me grab my calendar. There we go. It will begin on the 16th, and we'll follow it up on the 23rd. So we've got some big shows coming up. So please like, share, comment, and just do what you can to help us raise awareness. We're doing this from the goodness of our heart. So this is something that everyone can benefit from. And Tawny, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. I love talking with you. I think you're a very powerful person and a force to be reckoned with. And I don't think there's any better person to be in Morgan's corner than you. So you guys at Rare Epilepsy Education Foundation are doing amazing things. Please keep doing amazing things. And that will be our show tonight. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you guys have. Yes, absolutely. So everyone, thank you for watching. We will see you in our community group and on the Unsocially Acceptable Facebook page. Until next week, you guys have a great night. Thank you, Tawny. Thank you, everyone else.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.